welcome to another episode. Remember where we're at. We're at YouTube, Rotator Cuff Repair Expert. We're at mybodyprotector.com. We're at DRO and mybodyprotector.com. If you send me an email and you say yes in the subject line, we'll get you hooked up with our email list where we kind of tell you each week what's going on, what's coming up. Please do that. So today we're going to talk about a most recent study. Studies just came out. It's in March of 2023, and that's when this came out. This came out with from Pang et al. Pang and et al. Were in the Journal of Shoulder and Elbow Surgery, and they looked at, is PRP or is steroid injections better after a rotator cuff injury? Meta-analysis, as you know, when we talked about this before, what is a meta-analysis? A meta-analysis is a study of studies, right? We get a whole bunch of studies looking at the same thing, we combine them together, we increase their power, which means we increase the statistical significance so that we can use it, we feel more comfortable. So Pang and his authors look at 9 studies, a total of 469 patients. So in those studies, what they did, someone had a rotator cuff injury. Now this is important, not a rotator cuff tear, but a rotator cuff injury. It's not really described whether it was a tear or just a tendonitis or whatever. We give them steroids, we give them PRP, and what happens? What it looks like in the early beginnings of it, and it doesn't really describe actually specifically how long this lasts, less than 3 months probably, is that if you give steroids, the steroid injection helps more early on, which would make sense. If you inject steroids, an anti-inflammatory, it's gonna make people feel better. And so I think it's important. So if you have a rotator cuff tear and you inject steroids into it, or steroids into the subacromial space where the rotator cuff is, you're gonna get some relief, which would make sense. You decrease the inflammation. But if you have a rotator cuff tear, most likely that steroid injection is gonna wear off, and then you're gonna have no real long-term relief, unless it's just an irritated rotator cuff, which might. And they also showed that when we look at the PRP didn't do so good early, but had a little bit longer recovery, longer pain control and function. So that's important. So if we think you have a PRP, we have maybe a partial thickness tear, we put PRP in, maybe that PRP helps encourage that to heal, and we have longer term relief. Now this is different. There was another study back in 2021 by Wang, and they looked at a meta-analysis. They looked at 6 studies, not 9, but 6 studies, and they saw the difference of steroids early on, but they didn't see they did not see a improvement with the PRP at all. So the steroid and the PRP were about the same long term. So why is it different? You know, it could be that we have more power, right? We have a better study. We have 9 instead of 6. So we have more patients in this study from March 2023 than we do in this study from 2021. So perhaps this is telling us that we need more power, we need more studies to really find that statistical difference in the later ranges, right? In the later range when we look at PRP long. Obviously, different studies are performed differently. Now, I don't know if the 9 studies in this meta constitute those 6 studies that were from 2021 plus 3 or more. So those 3 maybe have more power. Those 3 maybe push it over the edge so we can see the difference in PRP. I'm not sure. I think it's interesting. So we're still trying to sort through this. PRP is still a bit of a mystery to me, and I have lots of questions about that in the comments. What about PRP? What about PRP? What about PRP? There's a couple of issues with the PRP. PRP is, one PRP is not the same as every other PRP. It has to do with the technical, what's in the PRP, and depending on how they spin it and what mechanism they use to extract it may make it different, right? So that's one difficult thing. I think that PRP is not paid for by insurance typically, so there's less people doing PRP, so there's less data. Steroids are inexpensive, so there's a lot of people doing steroid injections because they work short term. We just know that from these 2 studies, and they're inexpensive. And so they make people feel better early after an injury, and they're inexpensive, so we don't have a difficulty trying to get them approved by insurance. And so PRP is sometimes used, but the PRP, either the patient most likely has to pay for it, or sometimes in a workers' comp situation, they might pay for it too. So PRP is still a little bit of a mystery. It's encouraging to say the PRP is a bit longer. Again, we probably really have to parse this out to see not just rotator cuff injuries, but true rotator cuff tears. What's the thickness of the tear? Is it full thickness? Is it partial thickness? Is it a small or is it big? All those kind of things is gonna help us as we go along down this road and trying to figure out, is PRP really helpful? If I have the right patient and the right circumstance, I think PRP for a partial thickness tear may make sense in the right setting, in a situation where it doesn't cost that person a lot of their life savings to have the PRP. So if you like this kind of stuff, if you like studies and must tell you about new studies, if you like that, comment, yeah, I like it. Or, nah, I don't really care. I would like you to talk about something else. So would you like more product reviews, right? And so we've done a product review a while back. There may be some more product reviews coming up. Would you prefer me to do a little bit more product reviews? Just let me know. Hope this helps. Again, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the channel. Please keep watching. Thanks.